It was cold. Not the kind of cold you dress for, but the kind that gets inside your bones and whispers that maybe you won't make it through the night. That kind of silence blanketed Taloran. 3 after dusk, sharp, biting, absolute. Out here, people didn't knock on doors unless it was life or death. So when the knock came, 3 slow thuds against a metal door. Dane Carter already knew something was wrong. He didn't answer right away. No one came here. Not anymore. He was a ghost in a house full of dust, far from where the galaxy turned. That knock felt too deliberate. Not panicked. Not confused. Like whoever was out there knew exactly what they wanted. He stood in silence, one hand on the worn grip of his sidearm. Another knock. Same rhythm. Calculated. Deliberate. Not local. Dane moved to the side, checking the tiny monitor embedded near the doorway. It was glitchy, half-frozen from the cold, but it flickered enough to show a figure standing outside. Tall, shrouded in a thin thermal cloak. Not alone. 2 smaller shapes clung to her. Children? He didn't want this. Didn't want people. Especially not ones with small hands and big eyes that reminded him of his past. He opened the door anyway. The woman didn't flinch. Her eyes locked onto his like she had rehearsed this moment. She stepped forward with cracked lips and a voice thick with exhaustion. I will warm your bed. Human. My children need a father. Dane said nothing. The children behind her barely moved. 2 small hybrids. Half Zalari by the look of them. But there was something unmistakably human in the shape of their cheeks, the roundness of their eyes. They weren't hers, not fully, and they sure as hell weren't his. You need help, Dane said, flat, not inviting, not cruel, just a fact. Yes, she replied. He didn't step aside, but he didn't close the door either. Name? Serena Zell. I come with no weapons. I see 2 liabilities, he said, glancing at the kids. I see 2 reasons to survive. Dane had once admired that kind of response. Before life took everything soft in him and replaced it with hard steel and silence. They can't stay here, he muttered. They have nowhere else. That part hit him harder than expected. He stepped aside. The warmth of the interior was relative, but compared to the cutting winds outside, it might as well have been summer. The kids moved hesitantly, eyes darting across the cluttered room. Part armory, part archive, part broken-down memory of a life once lived. They didn't speak, not out of fear, but instinct. They were used to hiding. Serena didn't remove her cloak. She stood awkwardly, her posture too rigid for someone supposedly asking for sanctuary. You came to the wrong species for sympathy, Dane said, pulling a kettle from the old induction plate. No, she replied. I came to the only species that still feels it. He raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Water heated slowly. The silence stretched out like old grief. He remembered the last time someone looked at him with that much trust. His wife's eyes, wide with hope the day he left her for the last time. She and their son, both gone now. War. Disease. Politics dressed up as necessity. You know who I am? He asked. Yes. Dane Carter. Human diplomat. Warrior. Survivor. The one who held the line at Baldwin's Ridge with only a knife and 5 soldiers. He hated that story. It had grown legs over the years, twisted into legend. People loved humans for what they represented. Chaos with conscience, fire wrapped in skin. I'm nobody, he said. You're the only one my children have a chance with. What happened to their father? Killed protecting humans. My people called it treason. He sighed. And now you think bringing them to me somehow what? Balances the scales. I don't care about scales. I care about their future. Dane poured 2 mugs of steaming water and slid one across the table to her. That's why you offered to warm my bed. She didn't blink. I will do what I must. I don't need a companion. I need protection. They stared at each other for a long time. No words, just the weight of shared understanding. Neither of them wanted this arrangement. But sometimes life wasn't about want. The children sat on the floor, curled up under a tattered thermal blanket Dane had tossed near the heater. One of them, slightly older, maybe 7, was watching him, not Serena. Him, studying the lines in his face like they meant something. He turned away. "You're not safe here," he said. "The Zalari don't take kindly to genetic drift. Hybrids aren't just frowned upon, they're purged." "I know. And you still came." She nodded. "Why?" "Because humans protect what they didn't create. I've seen it. I saw a human soldier take a bullet for an alien child on Atraxis 5. I saw a human engineer rebuild a village he'd never heard of. You're unpredictable. Yes, dangerous, even. But when you love something, you do not let go." Dane had no answer for that. He drank his tea and stared into the darkness outside his window. "Sleep here tonight," he said finally. "You'll move on tomorrow." Serena's shoulders relaxed, but only a fraction. She knew the offer wasn't generous. It was a delay, a test. She nodded. "Thank you." He set up a spare cot near the heater, gave them a ration pack, barely edible but warm. The kids devoured it like wolves. When the lights dimmed and the only sound was a soft crackle of old electronics humming, Dane sat alone in the corner, eyes wide open, thinking. There was a picture in his coat pocket, old and worn. His son, age 9, grinning with missing teeth. He held it tight. He had locked his heart away for years. But now, there were 2 sets of eyes in his home that reminded him of a smile long buried. He didn't know what he was going to do, but he didn't lock the door that night. The heater buzzed low as pale morning light crept through the frosted window. Dane sat upright in his chair, unmoving, still wearing yesterday's clothes. He hadn't slept. Old instincts refused to let him drop his guard, not with strangers under his roof, not with children he didn't ask for. Serena stirred first. No words, just a nod, a quiet acknowledgement of survival. The children were slower, groggy from warmth and food. Dane watched the younger one, a girl, wrap herself tighter in the blanket, clinging to its heat like it might vanish at any moment. "You said their father was killed," Dane said. It wasn't a question. Serena didn't look at him when she replied. "Yes, 4 months ago. His name was Kale. Military? Scout for the old guard. Defected when he saw what they were doing to humans and hybrids. Defection gets you marked." She nodded. "We hid. Then we ran. Eventually, we ran out of places to go." Dane sipped stale coffee and said nothing. She crossed the room, slow and deliberate. "He told me about you. Said if anything happened to him, I was to find the human diplomat who stopped the burning of El Kara. That was a long time ago. Still saved 30,000 lives. I failed to save the other 10,000. Serena's voice was softer now. "He believed in you. He said you were a good man. I was, once." The silence returned, awkward and unyielding. She let it hang, then knelt beside one of the children, brushing their hair back gently. "They're different. Too human for my people. Too alien for yours." "That's assuming I even have people," Dane muttered. She looked up. "You do, whether you want them or not." He hated how quickly she could cut through his defenses. "Why them?" he asked suddenly. "Why are hybrids such a threat?" Serena's hands paused. "Because they proved the lies wrong. My people say humans are animals, incapable of loyalty, of love. But my children exist because of both." Dane didn't respond, but his jaw clenched just slightly. She stood. "You don't have to love them. Just keep them breathing." Dane leaned back, eyes fixed on the ceiling. "And what's in it for me?" "Nothing," she said, "except maybe a piece of your soul back." He laughed bitterly. That part's long gone. But the laughter didn't last. The kids were quiet but observant. The boy, older by a year or 2, watched Dane constantly. Not out of fear. Curiosity. It made him uneasy. Children weren't supposed to look like that. Like they'd already seen too much. "What's his name?" Dane asked, pointing at the boy. "Kalen." "And the girl?" "Lyra." Dane crouched down near them, just far enough to avoid being seen as a threat. "You two speak." They exchanged a glance. Then Kalen nodded once. "You understand me?" Kalen nodded again. "You know why your mother brought you here?" Pause. Then, slowly, "Because you're human." Dane tilted his head. And what does that mean to you? Kalen hesitated. You don't throw people away. That stopped him cold. Dane stood up and walked a window. The horizon was a dull smear of gray. Nothing but snow and static storms out there. No safe paths. No neighbors. No cavalry coming. He looked back at Serena. If you stay here, they'll find you. The purists. I know. They'll kill me too. I know that as well. And you still came. I had to. That kind of certainty annoyed him. You think being human means I'll just take you and protect you, raise someone else's kids because it's a moral compulsion? Yes. She didn't flinch. No emotion, just brutal honesty. And if I say no, I walk back into the snow with them. They die slow. I die faster. Either way, they don't get taken alive. It was a clarity in her voice that got to him. Not desperation, conviction. She wasn't bargaining. She'd already made peace with death. Dane hated that he understood her. You're not from here, he said finally. No, originally from Zolari Prime. My bondmate was stationed near human territory. That's how we met. How long have you been running? 3 years. We had well until we didn't. Dane ran a hand through his graying hair. You've got nothing. No transport, no credits, no weapons. I have them, she said, gesturing to the kids. And I have you, maybe. He looked down at the rifle he kept near the entry door. Scarred but reliable. There's no maybe with people like me, he muttered. Just regret. Kalen spoke up again, this time unprompted. You don't look like a bad man. Dane's breath caught for half a second. Then he laughed once, short, dry. That's because you haven't seen what I've done. You still opened the door. Dane said nothing. Midday came and went. The sun never fully emerged on Taloran 3. Light was always diffused, colorless, like the planet itself was in mourning. By late afternoon, Dane had a plan. Not a good one, not even a complete one, but enough to get moving. You'll stay, he told Serena. Just for a few days. We'll figure something out. Her shoulders eased again. Thank you. This isn't mercy, he warned. This is strategy. If anyone finds out I'm harboring hybrids, it won't be raiders you'll have to worry about. It'll be the entire damn outpost. She nodded. I understand. He turned to the children. There are rules in this house. You follow them, we get along. You lie to me, hide things, or bring danger to my door again, I won't hesitate. Kalen nodded solemnly. Lyra curled closer to her brother. Serena crossed her arms. They will obey. They understand what's at stake. Dane looked at her for a long moment. I need to know. How far are you willing to go for them? She didn't blink. I crossed 3 systems without food. I watched friends die. I buried my bondmate with my bare hands. I didn't come here to give up. He nodded once. Then I'll teach them how to survive. He didn't say it, but something shifted inside him. A part that had been frozen for years began to thaw. Painfully, but undeniably. Maybe he couldn't save his own son, but maybe he could make sure these two didn't end up as just another footnote in a dying species history. The first sign of trouble came as static. Dane noticed it while checking the comms panel, an old military-grade unit he'd kept active out of habit. Usually, the channel hissed with open band chatter. Cargo schedules, atmospheric scans, idle border patrol gossip. But now it was dead. No buzz, no crackle. Just silence. His gut turned to ice. He moved fast, no waste of motion. Pulled down the emergency shutter, killed the lights. Inside. Now, he barked. Serena froze only for a second before ushering the children to the back room. Dane followed, pressing the panel on the floor that revealed a hatch beneath the rug. The cellar wasn't big, but it was secure, shielded, soundproof, and out of visual scan range. You don't make a hideaway like this unless you expect company, Serena said as the hatch sealed above them. I've had company before. Who? People like me. People running from ghosts. The house above groaned under wind, but Dane wasn't listening to the weather anymore. He was listening for footsteps. He didn't have to wait long. A low hum pierced the air. Hover engines, close range. He counted 3, maybe 4 units descending. Not dropships, Light raiders. Then boots. They didn't knock. Wood splintered as the front door was breached. Heavy feet. Fast, efficient movement. Military precision, not scavengers. These weren't amateurs. They were hunting something specific. One voice rang out loud, distorted through a helmet modulator. "This is Commander Brell of the Purist Enforcement Circle. We have reason to believe you are harboring illegal biological contaminants. Come out. Now." Dane didn't move. He glanced at Serena. Her face was stone. "They know," he whispered. "They always knew," she replied. Kaelin reached for her hand. Lyra's breathing quickened. The tiny sound sharp in the silence. Above them, a second voice snapped, "Check the basement." Dane moved. Fast. He climbed the hatch, silent as breath, pulled his rifle from the mount on the wall, and positioned himself near the hallway choke point. The house wasn't big, but was a death trap for anyone who didn't know the layout. The first soldier breached the hallway. Dane fired once. No hesitation. No warning. The round hit center mass. Kinetic impact. Cracked armor. The body slammed into the wall and dropped. The second came next, alert but not fast enough. Dane dropped him with a burst of the legs, then silenced a scream with a shot to the visor. He dragged the bodies aside, reclaimed their weapons, and retreated to the stairs as more boots moved inside. 4 left, maybe 5. Still too many. "Come out, and we'll make it clean." Brell shouted. Dane didn't reply. He was already moving toward the back exit, cutting power to the main grid. The house went dark. Total blackout. His eyes adjusted quickly. Human reflexes wired for chaos. A flash grenade went off down the hall. No light. No effect. The EMP shielding held. Then he heard it. One of them found the hatch. Dane swore under his breath and sprinted. He reached the cellar just as one of the soldiers began forcing it open. With a roar, Dane tackled him mid-pull, slamming the armored figure into the wall. His elbow found the weak joint in the helmet, followed by a knife to the throat seam. It was over in seconds. Dane opened the hatch. Serena had both kids behind her, a pulse pistol gripped tight in shaking hands. "We have to go. Now. They'll follow. They're not leaving with you alive. That's the plan." She looked at him, eyes blazing. "Then we change the plan." He handed her the second rifle. "You any good?" "I'm better angry." "Good, because we're not done." They fled into the night through the back tunnel, an escape route Dane had carved years ago, in case someone decided a human relic was worth removing. They emerged 2 kilometers west, near the Frost Ridge line. From there, they ran. No words, just breath, crunching snow, and the howl of angry engines overhead. Dane's shoulder burned. He'd taken a grazed shot during the fight, but adrenaline drowned the pain. They reached the ridge's crest just as a house exploded behind them, burning in a controlled detonation. Someone didn't want evidence. No survivors. No records. Serena watched it burn. "They'll keep coming." "Not for long," Dane said. "What do you mean?" He pulled out a small comm chip, snapped it between 2 glove fingers. That message just pinged an old contact. Human signal. Old war bond. "Who?" "Doesn't matter. Just know this. If he answers, we'll have a ride. If he doesn't, we die out here." She nodded. Kaelin stepped forward, his voice small but steady. "I don't want to die." Dane crouched beside him. "You won't. Not while I'm breathing." For the first time, the boy reached out and touched Dane's arm. "I believe you." Dane froze, stunned by the contact. He stood quickly and scanned the horizon. "We'll need shelter. Temporary. There's an old relay station in the gorge. Half buried. Might still have power." They moved again, this time slower, more cautious. The wind cut deep, but the sky had cleared just enough to reveal distant stars. Dane focused on the horizon, on movement, on threat vectors. But his mind kept circling back to that house. That moment, the trigger pull, he hadn't hesitated. Not once. When they reached the gorge, they found the relay station mostly intact. The main doors were buried in ice, but Serena's pulse rifle cut through it in under a minute. Inside, it was dark and dry. Secure, Dane collapsed against the wall, letting the pain finally settle in. His shoulder was bleeding more than he'd thought. Serena knelt beside him, pulled his jacket open, and began sealing the wound with a med gel strip. "I've seen worse," she said. "Feels like worse. You saved us." "I did what had to be done." She met his eyes. That's what a father does. He didn't argue, didn't reject the word. Somewhere, deep in the night, a reply pinged back on the comm band. One word, encoded, but unmistakable. "On my way." They didn't speak much the next day. The relay station was intact, but barely. The emergency generator sputtered to life under Serena's coaxing, casting a weak orange glow through the frost-caked walls. It was cold but dry. Hidden. Alive. Dane sat with his back against the wall, half awake, his shoulder pulsing with every heartbeat. The med gel was holding, but barely. He needed a full Reagan tank. Not happening here. Kalen sat near the broken terminal, fiddling with a piece of shattered tech. The boy's hands were steady. Too steady for someone that young. Serena watched him work, quiet pride on her face. "Kale taught him," she said. Said if he couldn't fight, he had to think faster than the ones who did. Dane nodded, eyes fixed on the boy. "He's sharp. He doesn't sleep much." "Same." She turned to him, her face worn but resolute. "You shouldn't have come back for us last night. You should have run. I'm not built that way." "I know." He leaned forward, checking the comms band again. The ping had come once, short range, encrypted. A message only one man in the galaxy would recognize and answer. His old captain. Call sign, Karanax. Half legend, half war criminal, depending on which side of the system you were born into. They'd bled together during the siege of Archon's Gate. Karanax had seen Dane through the worst kind of war and owed him a debt. Dane was cashing it in. "He'll come," Dane said quietly. Serena glanced at the ceiling. "I hope he's fast." He was. By the second nightfall, the horizon flared. 3 ships dropped from the upper atmosphere. Not sleep patrol skiffs. These were human-made, rugged and brutal, covered in carbon scoring, patched together with scrap and sacrifice. Veteran ships for veteran soldiers. Dane stood slowly, teeth clenched against the pain. He knew that silhouette anywhere. The Ashward, Karanax's ship. The comms crackled. A voice came through, gravel and steel. "Carter, you always call when someone's trying to kill you." Dane allowed himself half a smile. "You never answer unless someone's worth saving." A pause. Then, "You'll want to move? We've got unfriendly eyes on your trail. Big ones." "How many?" "Too many for this dance to last long. Extraction in 5 minutes. Bring your ghosts." The line cut. Dane turned to Serena. "Time to move." She didn't hesitate. She scooped Lyra into her arms and called Kalen. The boy grabbed a satchel, the one filled with spare rations and a piece of Dane's old rifle he refused to leave behind. They left the relay behind without looking back. The drop zone was half a kilometer uphill. No cover, no margin for error. Above, the Ashward hovered low, its guns already warming up. Behind them, the ridge groaned as enemy skiffs came over the horizon. Too many. Pulse fire peppered the snow as Dane pushed forward, gun raised, body screaming with every step. Serena moved like she trained with soldiers, low, fast, efficient. Kalen followed, one hand clutched around Lyra's, as if letting go would end them both. Then the ground exploded. Dane hit the snow hard, the impact knocking the wind out of him. He rolled, firing blind. A soldier collapsed 5 meters away, helmet cracked, body twitching. Serena screamed, not from pain, rage. She dropped 2 more. Kalen reached Dane, pulled at his arm. "Get up!" The boy's voice cut through the haze. Dane surged up, grabbed Kalen, and covered his retreat as Serena cleared the path to the drop ramp. Lyra was crying now, but silently, tears freezing on her cheeks. The ramp opened. Karanax stood there in black armor, bigger than Dane remembered, holding a heavy repeater and firing nonstop into the storm behind them. "Move!" he shouted. Dane pushed Serena up the ramp. Then the kids. He turned to fire one last time, covering the rear, and then a hand yanked him off his feet. Karanax, grinning. Still slow as hell, Carter. The ramp sealed. The ash ward lifted off. Below them, fire and wind consumed the ridge. The purists had no chance. Not against old tech, old grudges, and the last of humanity's war dogs. Inside, Serena clutched her children, wrapped in the warmth of relief and exhaustion. Dane collapsed beside them, blood leaking through his sleeve. Karanax tossed a med injector at him. Still taking strays, I see. Dane caught the injector and jammed it into his neck. Still saving your ass, I see. Karanax laughed. You're getting sentimental in your old age. She called a human. Karanax glanced at Serena, then at the children. His expression shifted, warrior's understanding. These yours. They are now. Karanax nodded once. Then they're under my protection, too. The ship roared through orbit, engines burning toward a safe zone deep in the asteroid belt. No tracking, no comms. Off-grid. Safe. Hours passed. Lyra finally fell asleep against Serena's chest. Kalen sat beside Dane, his eyes still open, alert, watching stars streak past through the window. You ever been to Earth? Kalen asked softly. Dane's throat tightened. A long time ago. What's it like? Dane thought of oceans, mountains, laughter, ash. It was beautiful, he said. And cruel. Kalen nodded. I want to go there someday. You will? Dane said. You'll walk where humans began, and you'll show that we didn't end here. The boy leaned into his side, silent, comfortable. Serena looked over, her eyes meeting Dane's across the cabin. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. He looked down at the children, their lives, their legacy, the weight of survival etched into their bones. And in that moment, he understood it wasn't about redemption. It wasn't about guilt. It was about choosing every single day to protect something fragile, something real, something worth bleeding for. Karanax walked past, grumbling something about orbit checks and reactor heat. Dane didn't follow. He stayed where he was, alive, present, human, and for the first time in years, not alone.